And then it punches again right here. And since Tyler's already attacked 100 times, I am fully pinned.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to EJ's Training Camp and welcome back to another video. We have a fun one for you today. We are actually headed to, well, probably the most competitive group ride in my area. I'd argue one of the most competitive group rides in Northern California. It is a spicy one, headed down to Sugarland. It's a no drop group ride, meaning that they regroup, but there's 3 races within the group ride and there's usually some hitters there. I usually have trouble holding on for dear life, so let's see what we get into today. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's get after it. Let's have a day. Well, the weather today is a bit interesting. It's like it's dew. I think it's a little bit of, yeah, it's just like mist in the morning, but it looked like it misted all night long, so it's a little bit wet, but I kind of hope it blows off because it is a cold start to the morning. But we are headed down the hill to go meet teammate Jordan and roll over to the start. Let's get it.
And just like that, we were off at the October version of Sugarland. If you guys want to do this ride, DM me on Instagram, but it meets at the Sutter Hospital in Santa Rosa on the second Saturday of every month. Sorry, that was kind of a mouthful. But if you want more information about this ride, DM me. It is a super, super fun race-paced group ride. Really recommend that you come out. And I hope to see you for the November edition coming up here shortly. And like I said in the intro, let's get into what's happening today, what's happening in front of us. Who's here? What's going on? So if you see up the road on the front right now, there is Tyler Williams and Pete Stetina. They are two, if you don't know who they are, well, Tyler Williams, absolute beast, local pro, racing for Legion of Los Angeles. Peter Stetina, ex-World Tour guy, now majorly in the gravel scene, was in the overall standings for the Lifetime Grand Prix. Basically, long story short, some hitters here. We have some guys from Red Peloton in front of me right here as well that'll spice up the pace, and then teammate Jordan, who's sitting to the left of me right now. So I would say it's a pretty strong field today, even though it's a rainy one. Usually more people show up. I would say usually about 30 to 40 people come out. I think we had about 20 today. So a little bit of a light showing, but still a very strong field nevertheless. And as I said, there's like 3 segments that are on in this group ride, and we are on one right now. This is the Chalk Hill South to North segment. It is 8 miles of rolling terrain. It's like a climb. There's a lot of pitches in there, and the pitches in here are quite steep, but then there's also a lot of room to recover. So it actually suits my profile pretty well. The climbs are definitely more of a power climbs, but there are some sustained sections. Now, usually in this group ride, like where we're at right now, it all kind of stays together until the first little pitch of a climb. Like we're on like 2% right now, and usually if you try to go up front and punch right here, like I've definitely made this mistake before in previous Sugarland rides, I'll get super excited and try to go early and try to stick it, but usually Tyler just kind of rides the rest of the group up to you and nothing happens, and then you're just gassed out, and then you just get blown up when we get to the first actual pitch. But let's fast forward to the first actual pitch. And as you can see, right on cue, right as we come into that first climb, Tyler sends a doozy of attack fire, followed by another Tyler who's also quite strong in that black kit up there. And then teammate Jordan slotted into the wheel there, and I'm just going to go ahead and hang on for dear life. In the last Sugarland, I don't know if you guys had watched the video on my channel, Tyler did the exact same attack, but stayed seated the whole time just to demoralize us, as he did like 800 watts up this little kicker that will come up on this right-hand turn up here. But this section hurts. This section definitely hurts. I was doing everything I could to just sit in the draft, and I didn't want to animate the pace of this race yet because, I don't know, I kind of feel a little bit defensive against people like Tyler, Pete, the other Tyler up the road. Just kind of let them animate the race and react. Now, teammate Jordan sends a little bit of an attack here to kind of spice it up into this pitch. This pitch right here is quite steep. You definitely have to throw some watts. And then Peter Stetina comes out from behind my draft, and I know this is a wheel that I have to follow over the top of this, because if you're not on the train over the top of this going into the descent, it's really, really hard to close that gap, because then you're out there solo. and there's usually an elastic effect from this climb, so that back group has trouble bridging up to that front group because this descent is so fast. So then you see Tyler sends another attack over the top right there. Luckily, Peter's closing this gap for me, pacing me out. But this is taking everything I had. Heart rate is already at 170 plus BPM, which is quite high for me. But luckily, over the top of the climb, I'm able to kind of get back onto Pete's wheel. It's a little bit slick right here, and if you guys have watched before, my descending skills are definitely not the best. I think my tire kind of slid a little bit in that corner. That's why my heart rate went up a little bit. I was like, I got a little bit nervous, but luckily settled in, was able to hang on to Pete's wheel, and then this was when the first break was established. Now, after we sent that descent, it kind of goes back into rolling terrain, but it is still overall, I would say, quite flat, and this is where it fits my profile pretty well because that punchy little climb, it will kind of gas it, then recover pretty well in the descent. Being a heavier rider, I don't really have to put a lot of power into that descent and able to coast and maintain speed. But there is now a break of us up the road, including teammate Jordan, who's off the front right there, rotating. Peter Stetna behind, and I believe that Tyler Williams is sitting in my rear draft. I'm going to get my rear GoPro mount fixed, by the way, here shortly for you guys that are asking where the rear cam is. I promise I will get it fixed going into the race season, and we have some fun stuff coming up for this week as well. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe. But yeah, we are rolling with this squad off the front right now, and then there's going to be one more kicker coming up here shortly. That is, yeah. It's going to obliterate this break. Let's hop over to that. Now, we're going into this kicker very similar to the last one, and I knew that Tyler was... I had an inkling Tyler was going to attack here because he always does for the last couple of Sugarlands, and I had to be reactionary. I had to make sure I had enough saved up in the tank to attack with him and to respond to his attack, but then I also kind of wanted to test the limits of myself and him, knowing that he could probably respond to my counter. But I was going to come over the top and see if I could hold a little bit of a gap because I felt like this was somewhere that either I could get away because it goes into this nice rolling downhill, or it was somewhere that everyone else, you know, maybe we could split up that group because I think there was 4 or 5 of us. Maybe we could resplit that and reshuffle that and give myself a better chance to break away, because here after this, there's only, I would say, 1.5 miles left of this section, and then that's where this first race ends. But within a second, Pete and Tyler counter my counter, and we're off to the races. It's a group of 3 of us now up the road. Let's see what happens. And honestly, Tyler and Pete play nice and let me hang with them for a little while, and we just kind of roll together, create a bigger gap from the group behind. Everyone plays nice, pulls through, does their turns until we come into the last little S-turn kicker. And I knew I didn't want to be on the front going into this little kicker because I knew I had another inkling that this was somewhere that they were going to attack because, well, Peter's a light climbing boy, so what do you expect? Here we go, up that last little kicker. He sends it. I was a little bit delayed to respond, but still had enough in the tank to get on his wheel, but I was definitely hurting at this point. All these efforts, pretty close to back to back to back, and then I would say steady threshold in between, like sitting 350 to 400 in those pulls in between. I was cracked, and Pete was doing everything he could to get away, and then Tyler sends this counter attack, which again I just delayed to respond, mainly because I was cracked, obviously, but it just such a smart attack by Tyler. He waited until it seemed like we were both pretty much out of gas between Pete and I, and then all I had to do was just surge at 1,000, I would say, for a couple seconds there. Once you create a gap, there was pretty much nothing I could do to respond to that. I was able to get away from Pete, though, to roll in to second place here. Now, Tyler told me after this that took everything he had and more. We were all pretty gassed after that, just punching each other in the face on repeat on those steep sections. But the finish line for this first segment actually ends at that little stop sign right here. So with that, I roll in second place. I will take it. You know what? Maybe one day I'll get Tyler. Maybe one day. But after a little group, we are into our second race, which is more just like a sprint, a bridge, just city limit sign sprint, as you guys just saw on the segment that popped up on the screen. This sprint is a blast. I was going to do everything I could to position myself behind Tyler because I knew coming into this he was probably my biggest threat going into the sprint. I was hoping that maybe this was my time to get redemption, and teammate Jordan did an amazing selfless thing and sent it up the road here. I don't know if you can see him up the road a little bit there, so that Tyler and Pete had to close it down. I didn't have to do any work going into this bridge sprint, and that gave me a perfect opportunity, and I was put in the perfect position to win this sprint. Tyler launches. I try to counter right there and try to come around him, but as you guys can see from my power on the bottom left-hand corner, just really didn't have much in the tank, unfortunately. Let me make a couple excuses. One being I haven't sprinted. That was my first sprint since Tahiti, and also Tyler just ripped my legs off on the following segment for the last 40 minutes. So cut me some slack, okay? Hopefully one of these days I will beat Tyler at one of these segments on Sugarland, but that brings us into the last segment and the last race of the Sugarland ride. This is probably one of my favorites. Just steady rolling hills on West Side Drive, which is over in the Healdsburg area. And this is the longest segment that it is on, quote unquote, on for. It is 13 miles, 13.04 miles of rollers and just fun, man. This is what it's all about. And already there is a break of, I think, 6 of us up the road at this point. There's frenemy Brian on the left side, if you guys remember him on that factor. There's Pete Stetna coming back right here on his Canyon. Tyler in front of me, and then teammate Jordan in front of him. And we're already into it. Tyler has already sent a couple attacks already that we had to counter to even establish this break. But he just stays on the gas because he's Tyler, and look at those size of those calves. He has unlimited energy and unlimited watts, and sends a little attack up that little hill. Like I said, this whole road is just rollers like that, which again is just so much fun. I love it. It's a blast, and it does again fit my power profile, being a bigger rider with punchy power pretty well. If there were like sustained climbs out here, like Peter and Tyler would just completely rip my legs off and I would just be cracked out the back. So it gives me a chance to hang on. And fast forward a couple miles later, and this whole group is still together. This whole break that's up the road, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, myself bringing up the rear. There's 6 of us in this little break up the road, and people have been throwing attacks and counterattacks on these little rollers, but nothing has really gotten away. But this part of the race, this is the last one, it does end on a pretty pitchy climb. So I'm doing my best to just kind of stay in the draft, save my energy, cover attacks if I need to, maybe throw some attacks to tire some people out, but make sure that I have some energy for that last climb because I know it's going to hurt. And teammate Jordan, again, being the selfless, amazing teammate that he is, fast forward about a mile into this last little punchy climb. Again, it's a very punchy one, about a minute climb, kind of like the other ones. Teammate Jordan does something amazing here on the left side because I did not want to be isolated on the front going into that climb. That is worst case scenario, because then I'm going to have to snap and respond to probably Pete and Tyler trying to sprint around me. So teammate Jordan recognizes the situation, sends it up the road going into the climb, meaning this isolates Tyler on the front here. I don't have to come through. I have no obligation to pull at that point. So Tyler's either going to have to pull that back so that Jordan doesn't win, or someone else is going to have to come to the front and cover, because like I said, I have no obligation to pull. I'll let Jordan ride up the road for sweet victory, but Tyler, of course, isn't. if any of you have met Tyler, you know he's not going to let that happen. He's an amazing dude, super competitive, so much fun to ride with, but he's just going to go ahead, smash watts, try to close this gap down. We come into this banked left-hander here, and then that's pretty much where it starts to incline a little bit, and we start to go up that climb, and that's where that segment starts. You can see this left-hander coming up here. Jordan still has a little bit of a gap up the road. Tyler peeking back to make sure that to see if there's anyone else that can help him rotate, but realizes that I'm there in good position. Again, huge shout out to teammate Jordan. That was such a selfless move and a really smart play overall. I was super stoked with that. But here we go, coming into the bridge on this last climb. this is where it's going to start to kick. I peeked back at one point here, realized that Pete's in my draft, so there's basically us four. Jordan's attack kind of shredded the rest of the group, and with that, going into this climb, Pete and Tyler both just absolutely nuke it, and I know I have to give everything that I can to respond. I can tell that Pete's kind of running out of gas, so I'm like, okay, I just got to get onto Tyler's wheel, just got to hang on. Maybe, just maybe, this is my one chance that I could come around this dang guy who's beat me on repeat. Maybe it's my time. I felt like I was getting close, and then I kind of just run out of steam, but he just seems to have that one little extra gear. Tyler, if you're listening to this, I'm coming for you, man. I'm going to do everything I can to get you at, well, you told me you're not going to be at the next Sugarland, but maybe in December or January. Next year I'm coming for you, okay? But seriously, this ride is so much fun, guys. Highly recommend you come check it out if you're in the Santa Rosa area. Again, if you want any more details, message me on Instagram. My Instagram is linked down below, so check it out. Huge shout out to everyone that was out there. Again, an absolute blast. And shout out to you, Tyler and Pete, for being, people that are so high level in the sport but still come out to bang, with us amateurs. And it's just overall such a good vibe. Everyone's so cool. Yeah, I'm gonna get it one time, hopefully, maybe, we'll see. But with that, guys, thank you so much for being here. We have some exciting stuff coming up. There will probably be a video posted for you guys tomorrow and Wednesday of this week as well, with updates on what is coming up for this week, because we have our last race coming up on Saturday, which is a gravel race. So gotta go get my gravel bike set up for you guys. And yeah, thank you for all the support, and we'll see you in the next one.